You are not here by accident. The fact that you are reading this at this exact moment is not random, even if your mind insists it is. There are periods in life when confusion intensifies, when nothing seems to move forward, and when effort appears to produce little reward. These moments often arrive just before a deeper order reveals itself. What feels like delay is often preparation. What feels like chaos is frequently reorganization happening beyond conscious awareness. There is a silent intelligence within life that works through tension, resistance, and uncertainty. When things begin to fall apart, it is not always a sign of failure. Sometimes it is evidence that what no longer belongs is being removed. Old identities, outdated beliefs, and emotional attachments must loosen before something more aligned can emerge. The discomfort you feel is not meant to punish you, it is meant to wake you. Most people retreat at this stage. They misinterpret the pressure as a sign to stop, to settle, or to shrink. But inner transformation does not announce itself gently. It disrupts. It dismantles. It forces you to confront parts of yourself you once avoided. Yet within this confrontation lies clarity. When you face what you have been running from, you reclaim energy that was trapped in fear and doubt. You may feel tired, unmotivated, or disconnected from what once inspired you. This is not a loss of direction, it is a recalibration. The inner world is realigning before the outer world can respond. Life cannot give you what you have not yet made room for. Stillness, patience, and honesty with yourself become essential here. You are being shaped, not delayed. Trust that what is unfolding now is purposeful. Even if the path is unclear, movement is happening beneath the surface. Growth often occurs quietly, invisibly, until one day it becomes undeniable. What you are becoming requires this moment of uncertainty. Soon connections will form, understanding will sharpen, and what felt scattered will begin to align. You are closer than you think. Do not rush the process or abandon yourself now. Stay present, stay aware. This moment is not the end. It is the threshold. Everything is about to fall into place, not because you forced it, but because you finally allowed yourself to change. Confusion and delay are often mistaken for failure, but in truth, they are an essential part of the journey toward alignment and clarity. Life rarely unfolds in straight lines, and the moments that feel stagnant or uncertain are frequently the very moments that carry the seeds of transformation. When nothing seems to make sense and every step forward feels like an effort against resistance, it is easy to become frustrated, disheartened, or convinced that you are moving in the wrong direction. Yet these periods of uncertainty serve a deeper purpose. They signal that something significant is in the process of reshaping itself within you. Just as a storm stirs the waters to bring clarity to the depths, confusion shakes the foundations of your mind and spirit, so that clarity can eventually emerge. Delays in life are often not arbitrary or accidental. They are a form of preparation. Every moment of hesitation, every instance of waiting, and every situation where you feel blocked is an opportunity for inner growth. While the world around you may appear chaotic, your inner world is quietly rearranging itself, aligning your thoughts, emotions, and intentions with what is meant to come. What you experience as frustration or stagnation is, in reality, a subtle signal that something larger than yourself is in motion. When you resist these moments, you expend unnecessary energy trying to force outcomes prematurely. When you accept them, you gain insight and patience, allowing the natural order of life to work through you. During these periods of confusion, the mind tends to search desperately for patterns, explanations, or control. This is a natural instinct, but it often leads to further anxiety and self-doubt. True alignment, however, rarely arrives through force or immediate understanding. It comes through observation, reflection, and a willingness to be present with uncertainty. Each delay is a lesson in timing, teaching you that life unfolds according to its own rhythm, not according to the urgency of your desires. By surrendering to this rhythm, by trusting the invisible currents at work, you allow circumstances to converge in ways that feel effortless and inevitable. What seems like chaos is often a prelude to coherence, and the longer you resist it, the more tension you create for yourself. Confusion also serves as a mirror, revealing the areas of your life that are misaligned with your true self. It exposes unresolved fears, unexamined beliefs and attachments that no longer serve your growth. In this sense, delay is not an obstacle but a guide, pointing you toward the changes necessary for realignment. The very process that feels uncomfortable, uncertain or inconvenient is preparing you for a shift that will eventually make sense. By observing, reflecting, and trusting the unseen process, you position yourself to embrace the clarity that follows, confident that every delay and moment of confusion has been part of the careful, deliberate unfolding of your path. Breakdowns are often feared, avoided, or resisted, yet they are among the most potent catalysts for inner transformation. When life feels like it is collapsing around you, when structures you once relied on fail, or when familiar patterns no longer support your growth, it is tempting to label these moments as disasters or personal failures. In truth, these very breakdowns are signals that your inner world is calling for reorganization, for a fundamental shift in the way you see yourself, others, and the world. They are nature's way of clearing space for new growth, reminding you that the foundations upon which you have built your identity, habits, and beliefs may need reassessment. The discomfort of a breakdown is not a punishment. It is an invitation to rebuild, stronger and wiser, from the ground up. A breakdown often forces you to confront what you have ignored, suppressed, or denied. It exposes the fragility of illusions, the cracks in routines, and the limitations of coping mechanisms that no longer serve you. In the quiet, painful moments of disintegration, clarity emerges about what truly matters. While it can feel destabilizing, it is precisely this destabilization that creates the conditions for deep inner reorganization. The ego, accustomed to control and certainty, resists these moments. Yet, when you allow yourself to lean into the discomfort, you begin to dismantle old structures that were holding you back. This process is essential because without it, any attempt at growth or alignment remains superficial, a patchwork built over unresolved internal fractures. Breakdowns also illuminate the areas where attachment has clouded judgment. Whether it is attachment to outcomes, to relationships, or to a sense of self, these attachments often prevent transformation from taking root. When life strips away what is familiar, the internal landscape is exposed, revealing the core truths that had been buried beneath layers of expectation, fear, and habit. The process may feel disorienting, yet it is inherently restorative. The chaos of breakdown is paradoxically constructive, like a storm clearing the forest floor so that sunlight can reach new seedlings. What feels like collapse is often the precise moment when your inner system is being reorganized into a more authentic and resilient state. The most profound reorganization occurs not in resistance but in surrender, accepting the breakdown, observing it without judgment, and allowing the lessons embedded within it to surface creates the conditions for realignment. Every loss, failure, or crisis carries hidden gifts, opportunities to release outdated identities, correct misalignments, and cultivate strengths that only emerge under pressure. By embracing the process, you learn patience, self-awareness, and humility, and you discover that true growth is never linear. Inner reorganization requires dismantling before reconstruction, and breakdowns are the necessary doorway to this transformation. In their wake, you emerge not as the person who merely endured, but as someone reshaped, recalibrated, and ready to meet life with a deeper sense of purpose and clarity. Discomfort is one of the most misunderstood experiences in human life. We often interpret it as a sign that something is wrong, that we have failed, or that we are being punished by circumstances beyond our control. Yet the truth is far more subtle and profound. Discomfort is not a verdict, but a messenger. It signals that your boundaries are being tested, that old patterns are being challenged, and that there is potential for transformation lying just beyond your current state. Growth does not err in comfort, and progress rarely emerges from ease. The moments that feel tense, awkward, or painful are the very moments in which the seeds of your next level of understanding, resilience, and capability are being planted. Every human being encounters discomfort, but most respond by retreating, distracting themselves, or seeking immediate relief. This response is natural, but it often keeps us stuck in cycles of avoidance. The discomfort itself is neither arbitrary nor cruel. It is an essential tool for development. When you feel the pangs of uncertainty, resistance, or fear, it is an invitation to examine what lies beneath the surface of your consciousness. These feelings illuminate areas where you are clinging to old beliefs, outdated coping strategies, or self-imposed limitations. By leaning into discomfort rather than fleeing from it, you allow yourself to explore these hidden layers and engage with the challenges necessary for growth. Discomfort also signals that you are on the edge of transformation, much like physical exercise, where muscles must experience strain to strengthen. Emotional and psychological growth requires moments of tension. The mind and spirit are being stretched in ways that will ultimately expand your capacity for resilience, understanding, and creativity. When you interpret discomfort as punishment, you create resistance that amplifies suffering and obscures the lesson within the experience. When you see it as a signal, however, you can navigate the discomfort with awareness, curiosity, and even a sense of gratitude, recognizing that it is a vital step in the evolution of your character and life path. Learning to tolerate and interpret discomfort is a form of mastery. It is a practice that develops patience, insight, and self-trust. The discomfort often precedes clarity, breakthrough, and realignment. Moments that feel unsettling or challenging are rarely permanent. They are transitional, marking the shift from one phase of life to another. By facing discomfort with courage rather than avoidance, you cultivate the ability to navigate uncertainty, make conscious choices, and emerge stronger and wiser. Every challenge carries a message, and discomfort is the signal that draws your attention to what needs to be addressed, transformed, or released. It is not a punishment for your mistakes, but a guide pointing toward the growth you are capable of achieving. Ultimately, discomfort is an essential companion on the path of personal evolution. It alerts you when growth is occurring, when boundaries are expanding, and when transformation is inevitable. By reinterpreting discomfort as a signal rather than a sentence, you shift from fear and resistance to awareness and empowerment, embracing the natural rhythm of growth that life requires. It becomes clear that the discomfort itself is not the enemy, but the messenger leading you toward your next stage of development and alignment. Inner resistance is one of the most subtle, drains on human energy. Yet, it is also one of the most powerful forces shaping the course of our lives. It often appears as hesitation, doubt, procrastination, or self-sabotage, quietly consuming vitality and focus without our conscious awareness. Many people attempt to ignore or suppress this resistance, hoping it will disappear on its own, but avoidance only strengthens it. The energy spent avoiding fear, discomfort, or uncertainty is energy that could otherwise be directed toward creativity, action, and growth. When you finally confront your inner resistance, when you pause long enough to look it squarely in the face and understand its origins, a remarkable transformation occurs. Energy that was previously trapped in avoidance is liberated, flowing back into your life with renewed strength and clarity. Resistance often arises from deeply ingrained patterns, old fears, and limiting beliefs. It may manifest as excuses, procrastination, or even physical tension, and it thrives in secrecy and denial. By acknowledging it, naming it, and confronting it, you bring it into the light of consciousness. This act alone begins the process of reclaiming the energy that resistance had been consuming. Every time you choose to face what you have been avoiding, whether it is a difficult conversation, a challenging project, or an emotional truth, you transform resistance from a hidden burden into a source of insight. The confrontation itself, though uncomfortable, releases the tension that had accumulated, opening space for clarity, creativity, and purposeful action. Facing inner resistance is not about forcing yourself or battling against your natural rhythm. It is about meeting it with awareness and acceptance. When resistance arises, it signals that something within you needs attention, integration, or realignment. Ignoring it may temporarily delay discomfort, but it also prolongs the depletion of your energy. When you engage with resistance consciously, you recognize its role as a messenger rather than an enemy. You begin to understand the underlying fears, unmet needs, or unresolved conflicts that fuel it. This understanding diminishes its power, replacing struggle with insight. The energy that was tied up in conflict is released, and with it comes a sense of liberation, confidence, and forward momentum. The process of facing resistance also strengthens your capacity for resilience and self-mastery. Each confrontation teaches you that you are capable of moving through discomfort, navigating uncertainty, and reclaiming control over your focus and intentions. Resistance becomes less of an obstacle and more of a guide, pointing to areas where growth, awareness, or courage is required. Over time, this practice transforms the way you engage with challenges, reducing the habitual drain of fear and avoidance, and increasing your overall vitality. Ultimately, facing inner resistance restores lost energy because it transforms hidden struggle into conscious action. By acknowledging what you have been avoiding, understanding its roots, and taking intentional steps forward, you release the tension that had been quietly draining you. This liberated energy can then be redirected toward meaningful work, creative endeavors, and personal growth, turning obstacles into fuel and inner friction into momentum. Resistance, once faced, no longer drains you, it empowers you. Stillness is one of the most underestimated forces in the process of personal transformation. In a culture that prizes constant action, productivity, and visible results, moments of quiet and pause are often seen as wasted or unproductive. Yet true alignment, the kind that brings lasting clarity and fulfillment, rarely emerges from relentless motion. External change is meaningful and sustainable only when it reflects an internal reorganization, and stillness is the fertile ground in which this inner alignment takes root. When you allow yourself to pause, to breathe, and to simply be present, you create the conditions for your mind, emotions, and spirit to recalibrate, to sort through what is essential, and to prepare for the next phase of life. Stillness is not merely the absence of activity, it is an active engagement with the present moment. It is the practice of observing your thoughts without judgment, feeling your emotions without suppression, and sensing your inner state without distraction. In these moments, the noise of external demands and internal chatter begins to fade, revealing the patterns and currents that truly shape your life. The tension, confusion, or urgency you may feel often stems from the misalignment between your inner world and the circumstances you are navigating. By cultivating stillness, you allow the inner world to settle, to organize, and to realign itself, creating a foundation from which purposeful and harmonious external actions can flow. Many people rush to solve problems, seek solutions, or take action when life feels uncertain, believing that movement will resolve discomfort. Yet external action without internal clarity often leads to frustration, wasted effort, and repeated mistakes. Stillness acts as a reset, allowing insight, intuition, and understanding to emerge naturally. It is in these quiet spaces that the answers you seek are most likely to present themselves. By stepping back from constant doing, you give your subconscious mind the opportunity to process, integrate, and reorganize experiences that your conscious mind alone cannot handle. The stillness becomes a laboratory for the mind, a place where ideas, solutions, and clarity incubate until they are ready to manifest externally. Stillness also fosters patience and trust. In moments of quiet, you recognize that life does not need to be forced. It teaches you that timing is a critical aspect of alignment, and that rushing, reacting impulsively, or pushing against the natural flow only disrupts progress. By embracing stillness, you cultivate a deeper connection with your inner rhythm, with the subtle movements of intuition, and with the unseen forces shaping your path. This internal realignment inevitably manifests externally. Relationships improve, decisions become clearer, opportunities appear at the right moment, and actions take on a coherence that was absent before. Ultimately, stillness is not passivity, it is preparation. It allows life to reorganize from within before presenting itself externally. By honoring these moments of pause, by observing, reflecting, and integrating, You position yourself to act from a place of inner clarity rather than reactive urgency. The transformations that follow are more powerful, more sustainable, and more aligned with your authentic path. In stillness, life sets the stage for meaningful external change, ensuring that when movement resumes, it flows with purpose, precision, and ease. Trusting the process is one of the most profound acts of courage a person can engage in. Life often unfolds in ways that are unpredictable, mysterious, and, at times, confusing. Plans may falter, expectations may be unmet, and circumstances may appear chaotic or unfair. In these moments, the natural tendency is to cling to control, to force outcomes, or to demand immediate understanding. Yet trust in the process is not passive resignation. It is an active commitment to remain present, to believe that the unfolding of life has a rhythm and intelligence beyond what is immediately visible. By allowing the process to work without interference, you create the conditions for both clarity and integration to emerge, connecting your experiences into a coherent, meaningful whole. When you trust the process, you shift your perspective from seeking immediate results to observing patterns, lessons, and growth in the journey itself. The challenges you encounter are not obstacles but signposts, signaling where attention, adaptation, and reflection are required. Trusting does not mean ignoring difficulties or denying hardship. It means recognizing that each moment, each struggle, and each delay contributes to the larger design of your life. By maintaining faith in this invisible order, you reduce internal conflict, anxiety, and resistance, allowing your energy to flow toward understanding rather than frustration. This flow is essential for clarity, because clarity arises not from controlling every variable, but from engaging fully with the process and seeing how each piece fits into the evolving mosaic of your life. Integration comes naturally when trust is present. Life experiences, whether joyful, painful, or confusing, are often fragmented in perception, leaving the mind and heart unsettled. By trusting the process, you allow the meaning and purpose of each experience to reveal itself gradually. The lessons of struggle, the insights from reflection, and the transformations that occur through challenge all begin to coalesce into a coherent understanding of self and circumstance. Integration is the result of this patient engagement. What once seemed disjointed or contradictory now forms a unified perspective where past difficulties, present choices, and future possibilities exist in alignment. Trust provides the steady foundation upon which this internal coherence can grow. Trusting the process also fosters resilience. When uncertainty is no longer a source of panic but a space for observation and growth, your capacity to navigate life's unpredictability increases. You begin to see that setbacks are temporary, that lessons are embedded in every experience, and that clarity often arrives after a period of seeming disorder. This trust encourages patience, steadiness, and openness, enabling you to respond to circumstances with discernment rather than reaction. Over time, trust transforms the way you interact with life itself, turning fear into confidence, confusion into insight, and fragmentation into unity. Ultimately, trusting the process is an acknowledgement that life is intelligent and purposeful, even when appearances suggest otherwise. It allows you to let go of the need for immediate resolution, to surrender to the unfolding of events, and to embrace the journey with faith and awareness. Through this trust, clarity emerges, integration is achieved, and every experience, however challenging, contributes meaningfully to your growth. By surrendering to the process, you discover that life is not a series of random occurrences, but a carefully orchestrated path leading toward alignment, understanding, and fulfillment. Breakdown, every pang of discomfort, and every inner struggle has been guiding you to this very point. You are being reshaped, realigned, and readied for the life you are capable of living. The energy you reclaim by facing resistance, the clarity you gain in stillness, and the integration that comes from trusting the process are not distant rewards. They are already within you, waiting to be recognized and embraced. Life is not about rushing or forcing. It is about allowing yourself to move in harmony with the deeper currents at work. What feels chaotic now is preparing you for coherence. What feels heavy now is preparing you for freedom. What feels uncertain now is preparing you for profound understanding. Everything is falling into place, even if you cannot see it yet. So stand tall in the tension, breathe through the discomfort, and walk forward with patience and trust. Let every challenge be your teacher, every pause be your guide, and every moment of resistance be the doorway to your renewed energy. The life you are waiting for is already unfolding. It only asks that you allow yourself to grow, to align, and to trust. And when you do, you will see that nothing was wasted, nothing was lost, and everything has led you here to this threshold of clarity, strength, and purpose. Step into it, because everything is about to fall into place.